Competition is up amongst buyers, multiple offers are packing our marketplace, and we've had a 10% increase in price since the beginning of the year. Yeah, I'm talking about 2023. April stats from the Toronto Real Estate Board are out, and we're going to review them in this video so you have a better understanding of what's going on in this GTA marketplace. It's been crazy. Hey guys, this is Danilo from the King Realty Group. Hope you're doing well. We've helped hundreds of people move in and out of the GTA, and we are experts in helping first-time buyers, first-time investors, and first-time sellers in the marketplace. If that's you, make sure you're getting in contact with us below so we can help you in your real estate journey. Now, in this video, we're going to review April 2023 Toronto Real Estate Board stats, and we'll review a few things here. We're going to take a look at month-over-month stats, the difference between this month compared to the last few, and we're also going to take a look at the difference between 2023 and 2022, 1 year difference. And we're also going to take a look at our line graph, which gives us a better idea of what's been going on over a longer period of time. At the end of this video, we're going to also give you some tips if you're a buyer, an investor, and a seller in today's marketplace. What do you need to look out for? What do you need to plan for to have a success in this real estate market? This crazy GTA market that is always surprising us, it seems. Well, let's get into it, guys. Let's take a look at our chart and our dot graph to give us a better understanding visually how we got to where we are today in April 2023. Let's check it out. Okay guys, so this is our dot graph. This gives us a nice visual of what's been going on in our GTA marketplace. Kind of paints a picture of how we got here. We see that today, April 2023, we had a bit of a pop since last month. We see the increase in value since the beginning of the year, and we had kind of our lowest moment here in January, just over the last few months. Very big contrast compared to last year where we had like peak pricing around that February, March, April period. Although it was declining, it was still, you know, one of the higher levels that we've seen ever in the Toronto Real Estate Board. Price is a lot more tame now. You know, they've dropped quite a bit, even though we've had a 10% increase since the beginning of the year. That's one of the nice kind of big stories that we've had on a month-to-month basis, and we're seeing it here visually. You know, we had obviously decrease in price quite a bit since last year. We had a flattening out in the marketplace for a little while. It went down even lower throughout the winter months, and it's just kind of popped back. Where it looks like would have been the best time for us to buy probably was in that November, December, January period. October, November, December is probably when, you know, the best time to buy based on just the recent few months, because we've had a pop in our price point since then. So this kind of gives you a visual of what's been going on lately, and hopefully this helps a lot. Let's move on to our next section. So as you saw in our dot graph, guys, we've had quite an interesting story over the last couple of years, but over the last few short months, we see visually our price point and how it's increased since January. We're gonna now look at our month-to-month numbers. So we're gonna compare to March, and I'll also show you how since the beginning of the year, we've got to that extra 10%. All right, guys, so we're taking a look at our month-to-month changes here so we see visually how this all came to be. First and foremost, let's take a look at detached homes. We've had 3,448 sales, and we have an average price of 1.489. That's actually up 14%, like the sales volume up 14% from last month, and it was up 44% from the month before. So a lot more sales happening on detached properties. And on a month-to-month basis, we've actually gone up 1.4%, 2% from the month before that. So that's a 3.4% increase in the 2-month period. And I'll show you where we got that 10% increase. It's actually applied to the average price, which is very interesting. On semis, we've had 630 sales, 1.135 million is average price, up 13% on our sales, and we're actually up 4.38% in our month-over-month average price. It's popped quite a bit. Let's take a look at townhomes, guys. 1,229 sales. We have an average price of 986,000. We've had a 5.31 increase in sales from last month and a 5.4% increase in average price from last month as well. That one's pretty significant. Condos were up as well. 2,160 sales. 724,000 is our average price. We're also up slightly on our month-to-month sales activity, and on average price, we're just under 3% here, 2.92% increase over last month. On an average price, we're actually up 4% since last month, which is significant. And if I add up the last few months, since February, we've had a 10.7% increase in average price, which is incredible, seeing as how we're coming off of many months of declining prices. All of a sudden, demand is back, and I have my ideas on that, so stay tuned in this video for me to explain why this is all happening. Okay guys, let's switch over to our year over year stats to give us a different perspective, a macro. It just gives us some inputs to give us a better idea of what's going on in our marketplace. Let's see how we fared year over year. All right guys, let's take a look at our year over year stats. First and foremost, we're focusing in here on sales. You see that sales are actually very similar this year compared to last year. This is something that I mentioned in our last video, that our sales volume has increased and we're getting a lot closer to a normal sales volume on a monthly basis. And same thing here in April, we've had a healthy amount of sales in the month of April. That just kind of goes to show me that buyers are out there making purchases. There's only so much buyers can wait. Life is happening. We can't just wait forever for interest rates to change. They found a bit of stability in the marketplace and they have definitely returned. Let's continue down here to look at our average price. So average price, guys, we are down slightly from last year, but we're creeping back up pretty close though. We're about $100,000 difference between average price April 2022 compared to this year. Scrolling down a bit more, let's take a look at that in a bit more detail. So here we see our summary of our year-to-year numbers. We're down about 5% on our sales, but again, incredible to see that we have a lot more sales volume happening in April. Same thing happened in March. Let's see if that continues. New listings were down quite a bit, so we have less listings on the market than we did last year. Active listings, same sort of deal here. About 10,000 listings active on the marketplace, less inventory than we had last year. And this reduced inventory is another reason why we have multiple offers happening right now. We have an increase in buyer demand and we're having trouble supplying enough properties for that demand. And this is why we're seeing an upward pressure in price. One of the reasons anyways. If you notice here though, we are still lower than last year in price. We're under the double digit mark again. So it's only a 7.8% difference in price compared to last year. And remember, last year at this point, we were also dropping in value as well. We're gonna see that convergence, like where our year over year decline in price might start going down. And I'm starting to see that already. Average days on the market. So we're actually lower than last year for sure. Last year was a much more heated time than this year. But if you take a look at our last few videos, you'll notice that we're definitely within the 1 month now. Before we were creeping up over 30 days on our average days on the market, well below that now. And I'm seeing properties last less on the marketplace as well. If it's a nice property, it could be gone in a week. All right, guys, so those were the stats for April 2023. We're gonna move on now and talk about some of the tips that I may have for buyers, sellers, investors in our marketplace, and also a quick summary as to how we got here and why we've been having this increase in buyer demand over the last little while. So the GTA marketplace has definitely entered a more competitive marketplace. There's a couple factors, but these are the main ones that you should know about. One of them is lack of inventory. You saw in our year-over-year numbers that we're still below last year's inventory numbers, so we don't have a lot of properties up for sale. So depending on what pocket you're looking in, it's possible that there might not be too many listings. Anything that's looking nice probably has quite a bit of buyer demand, and it might be resulting in multiple offers for those properties. Another thing you got to remember is that the GTA typically has high volume. Like there's a lot of people buying and selling typically in the GTA. Obviously a lot of people live here, a lot of people want to move in here. There's just a lot of activity, a lot of movement. And over the last like 5, 6, maybe even up to 8 months, we've had very low month-to-month activity in terms of volume. That has changed over the last couple of months. We now have a sales volume that's typical to a normal month. And that means that people are buying. What is that? It shows me a couple things. One, that buyer confidence is up. People can't just wait around for interest rates to change or for things to get more stable. People have to move on with their lives and people have reasons to buy and sell properties, okay? Another piece of that is Bank of Canada decided not to make any changes to the Bank of Canada rate over the last 2 decision periods. And that has created some stability in the marketplace. We've also had an issue in the States. They had a financial crisis. There's a couple of banks that went under, and that actually, changed our Canada bond, which actually decreased our fixed rate a bit, which gave some products in the marketplace under 5% or around 5%, which is a lot better than what we were seeing on the variable side over the last few months, which were up in the 6-7% range. So, you can refinance or buy a new property, get into this 5% rate, and the monthly payment may not look so bad. So people were seeing that stability in the marketplace from the mortgage side, coupled with low inventory, coupled with pent-up demand because a lot of people couldn't just wait around. They needed to make a movement. All these kind of converged at the same time. And it was the spring market as well. So the weather got better. People are more interested in going out and seeing homes. All those things combined together kind of created this perfect storm of this buyer confidence, this buyer demand and buyer behavior that has increased their sales and has created multiple offers in a lot of scenarios for sellers out there as well. So that's kind of what's going on. So guys, basically sales grew 45% month over month, which has exceeded the 10-year average. A lot more sales volume going on. In addition to that, our sale price has gone up quite a bit. So I showed you a couple slides back or a couple minutes ago that our price point has actually gone up about 10.7% since February of this year. Incredible to see. Another thing we're seeing as well is on a year-to-year basis, our actual price point has slowed down the decline, right? Like we've had 7.8% drop in price since last year, but that rate has actually decreased quite a bit compared to the last few months. We're slowing down at a slower pace, and that's because we're starting to increase in price over the short term, and that's going to start reflecting on our year-to-year numbers as well. So we're going to see how that kind of plays out. Now guys, I'm going to give you a couple tips here. If you're a buyer in the marketplace, you should be looking long term. There's still opportunities in the marketplace, but just keep in mind that depending on what you're looking for, you may be running into competition. You might be running into other buyers who are interested in these properties, and there might be multiple offers. So it comes back to those things that you should be doing and your agent should be doing for you, is really doing the research to have a really good educated awareness of what that property value could be, needing to get that pre-approval done prior to even going to look at properties so you know what your max value is. You might even be working closely with that mortgage person to take a look at your specific listing that you're interested in, just to see what your max budget is on that particular property. You might have some letters prepared to be able to kind of show it to that seller, because sometimes pulling on the emotional strings could give you an advantage as a buyer in the purchase scenario. So you could beat out other people just because of your story versus like your price and terms. A lot of people are trying that sort of stuff as well, and that could work, that may not work, really just depends on the seller. And guys, keep in mind as well that right now there is a possibility of an interest rate increase coming up in the next couple of months, because inflation actually went up recently, and that it could impact the Bank of Canada's decision to increase rates. So if you have the ability at all to lock in or get a pre-approval that's locked in with a mortgage broker today, that's probably the best bet, so that you have maybe locked in rates for the next 120 days. Okay, so keep those pointers in mind. As a seller, guys, this could be a window for you. There's still multiple offers going on. There's still pretty high buyer demand. This could kind of fizzle out towards these summer months. Typically in the summer months, we see less activity and we start to experience lower price points than we would have gotten in springtime. We're just getting over that spring period. We're at the end of May now, actually, at the time of recording this video. So in a month from now, we're gonna have summertime, and we may have a lot of buyers that are busy just with their own personal lives, okay? Right now, it's working. You still have to get professional staging done. You still have to have incredible photos, and you need to beat up the competition in your area because it is starting to increase. Sellers, I've heard all the sirens, and we might actually be in competition with more sellers now as well. So it could impact like your result when you're selling that property as well, okay? So make sure you remember though that we're still lower in price than last year. Don't be too crazy on what number you want on the sales side, because there's still some compromises on that side as well. You can get an incredible price at this point in time, better than you would have gotten at the end of last year. So keep that in mind. You're really lucky there because nobody thought that was going to happen or that was going to be the case at this point in time. Okay. Now, as an investor, guys, there are opportunities out there. Okay, there's a couple of things that are happening right now. There's a lot of buyers of pre-construction that are struggling to close on their properties in this next couple of months. I'm seeing a lot of distress assignment sales. Let me know if you have interest at all in what an assignment sale is, pre-construction condos, and if you have any interest to kind of jump in and maybe be able to alleviate some of these distressed sellers. The second part on that is that some of these people committed to a price point that's a little bit higher than today's market value. That could be a reason why they're struggling on closing with the lender. Or it could be that they, were overzealous and they took on something that was a little bit too big, and now they're at a point where they can't close on it, especially with interest rates being a little bit higher. Some people are in really tough positions there. But these are not all like knock out of the park deals. Some of them are still high priced in my opinion, so you got to really evaluate them one opportunity compared to the next to make sure that those are good. When it comes to like duplexes, triplexes, stuff like that, those are still existing in the marketplace. There are some people who are also needing to sell those types of properties for the same reasons. Maybe they're in a higher interest rate product, or maybe even in a private mortgage scenario where their interest rate is way too high that it's they're not able to kind of hold on to certain properties. So as an investor, there might be opportunities there where there's a property already kind of set up, and you might be able to kind of purchase and take over with new terms. Buyers are always in different scenarios. Your situation is going to be very different than the next person. So those could be some opportunities for you guys. Again, as an investor, you're looking to purchase long-term Okay, you're not buying as a flip. And if you're doing that and you're okay with money commitments and expense on a monthly basis, we do our research in making sure that we're covering or at least cash flowing a bit on a monthly basis. I said in the last video, and I'm still sticking to it now, that you can win in the future. You might be able to, if you can cash flow today, even a little bit, later in the future when interest rates do drop, you're going to have an increased cash flow, and at the same time, it's going to be coupled with an increased market value for your property, because that's definitely going to happen as soon as rates start turning down. Okay. All right, guys, so wanted to make sure that you got those pointers. If you're a first-time home buyer, a first-time investor, and a first-time seller, we do specialize, and we have programs in place to give you a lot of education and so that you know exactly what you need to do to have success in your real estate journey. Make sure you're connecting with us on the buttons below through Calendly, or leaving us a comment so that we can get in touch. If you have any questions about the market stats, or if you want to get these on a monthly basis automatically, make sure you're subscribing. You can also sign up so we can email those to you as well. Okay? Dylan from the King Realty Group. Have a great day. Talk to you soon. Take care.